Hello and welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. I'm your guest host, Megan North. Firstly, I would like to thank our sponsors of the show, myself, Quantum Awakening and Voyage of Transcendence. And today we are joined by someone who first appeared on this show in season 5, so about 5 months ago now. And when she and I finished our first conversation, we knew there was so much more to share and explore. So I'm delighted that she's joining us again today. With over 24 years of experience, Sagar Constantin is a highly regarded lecturer in Denmark and internationally. Her clientele includes renowned names such as Lego, Novo Nordisk, Total Energies, government agencies, Fujitsu, and many more. She has imparted her knowledge on personal development to tens of thousands of eager learners, both domestically and internationally. Her expertise lie in leadership, personal growth, with a focus on teaching topics like emotional intelligence, positive psychology, change, neuroscience, and personal leadership. Sagar has owned several successful businesses, and her new book, Be Your Own Rock, focuses on how to better deal with change, challenges, and difficulties and learn to grow from them. She's led several significant development programs with leaders and companies and designed courses and extensive leadership development educational programs. She is a guest lecturer at Next MBA and is writing a PhD on transformative business leadership. Before teaching, she worked as a director at the Danish Broadcasting Corporation. She managed television productions such as the Sydney Olympics, the Tour de France bike race, and a documentary programs about snipers in Bosnia. Sagar's lectures and teachings are found and profound insights into what individuals need to fulfill their full potential through awareness and personal transformation. Welcome back to the show, Sagar. Thank you so much for returning and having another conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that introduction. It sounds amazing when you do it. I wish I was that person.
Well, you definitely are. You definitely are. And, I actually think it's really nice. I was only talking to somebody the other day about this, of when we're high performers and we are people in our own business, sometimes we're not great at reflecting on what we've achieved. And so I really love that I can read that out to you, because it's a nice way for you to sit there and just reflect and hear what you've actually done over the years.
Yeah, but it is true. It is true. And that's actually also one of the things when I give lectures, especially to people who go from being an employee to go to leadership, I tell them, first of all, to step into their leadership. And that doesn't matter if you are a leader, we're all leaders in our own lives. But this thing about focusing on, what am I great at? What am I great at? What are my strengths? We don't do that very often. And I tell people to make a show-off list. And some people actually get a little bit like, I can't do that. They get really nervous and insecure and like, I can't do that. Especially when I tell them after they do the show-off list, we're going to share at least one point on one thing on the show-off list with everybody else in the room. And I actually had one guy, he got so provoked by this show-off list that he said, I'm not going to do it. And I said, why? Because I don't like people who show off. And I said, well, of course, that's fair enough. But just think about it. How often do you focus about the things that you're great at? And if you don't know what you're great at, how am I supposed to know? So if you're going to look for another job or another task at your company, how will you actually look for the right thing if you don't know what you're great at? So if you're going around hiding your skills and whatever it is you're great at, how can anybody else know? So I think it's a very good thing to sit down and create a show-off list. You can keep it to yourself, but also just just acknowledging yourself. I'm great at this. You know, I'm going to share something I usually never share, but you know, here in Denmark, we have like a secret law. I think many people know we have this law of Yanti. It's like a Scandinavian law that we're born with. It's like in our DNA, and the law is like, don't think that you're better than anybody else. That is what we're brought up with. Don't think that you're better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
When you brought up with that, making a show-off list is not very nice to do, because you really deep down think that you're not better than anybody else. And it's also why it's so important to do this work.
Mm.
I was a kid, I'm not that common Danish person. When I was a kid and I just learned to ride my bike, I had this small bike, and there was like a seat bit behind the seat, and my sister, she's a few years older, and she taught me to write my name on a piece of paper, and I wrote small pieces of paper, and I wrote Sagar is great. And I made all these copies, and then I rode my bike up and down the street, and I put this note in every single letterbox just to make sure that everybody knew that I was great. So that's just me, you know.
I
So
love that.
yeah, but that I even have a photo of myself sitting on this bike, you know. But it's very unusual for a Danish person to do something like that. But I think we should all let everybody know what we're great at, because it is really a good thing to do. And as you say, it is very nice for me to have you list up everything and like go back memory lane saying, wow, okay, I did that too. I did the Olympic Games in Sydney. Wow, I was there.
Mm. And you
So
know,
thank you so much, Megan.
you're very welcome.
Do yours next time.
And you know, I actually think it really ties in with the work that you're doing, and when we're talking about change and resilience, because if we're stuck, we're not growing. And so the more that we do and the more work we do on ourselves, the more we grow and the more we change and the more resilient we get. So I think that self-reflection is actually a tool that people can use on where have I come from and where am I now? And I know with me, I mean, this is the third season that I've been hosting this show, and I know the way that I turn up and the way that I interview people is very different to the first season. And I've got video evidence that I can go back and see that, and I can watch it and think, oh, that's interesting. But I think that having that visual evidence is wonderful, or you journal, or that's because you think, wow, I have really grown. I'm so grateful for all the opportunities. And that's helped me to change. It's helped me to be more resilient.
Wow. Wow.
Mm.
That's great. And as you say, you are lucky because you can just watch the videos and say, wow, I made progress here. So, and that's great. I was just, when you're mentioning that, I was thinking about another thing I usually also want to embrace, because it what we usually do as human beings is we hold on to an old belief. And let's just say, for example, that you get a new job, and you're in this job, and you're the new one in your team. And then, you know, sometimes I meet people 1 year later, 2 years later, and they still introduce them. I'm the new one in the team. And I'm like, how long have you been here? Oh, 2 years. Then you can't be the new one anymore. That's not how it goes. But, you know, we identify with certain things in our lives. It can also be, I'm the person that can't find a girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm the one that they never choose. Well, maybe that was the truth in 1999 or in 2010. But in 2025, is that still the truth? I mean, and you could also say, Megan, I'm just new at making these shows. You're not new anymore, because this is season 6, you know, so you're not new anymore. You're a legend. You're becoming a legend at doing this. So I think it's very important that we sometimes stop and ask ourselves, what is the 2025 version of me? What am I great at? How have I moved forward? What have I learned? What is what is my identity today in 2025? I had a woman in one of my courses. She came for the first time, I think around 5 years ago. And she was just, coming into her leadership role. And she said, Saga, I have a hard time when I need to present in front of the team and give a message. I'm really nervous. I feel uncomfortable having so much focus and attention on me, and I find it really hard. Can you help me? And she came to this lecture, and she got some tools. And afterwards, I met her again because I'm doing quite a lot of work in that company. And over the years, I met her a few times, and said to her, try to do this, and maybe try to do this, and remember to practice, and remember to watch this. And then 4 years later, she came to exact the same course once again. And I was like, what are you doing here? I already gave you all the tools. I know you're practicing. I know that you're doing the work. I don't have anything new for you. You heard it all before. But she was like, I'm doing the course again. I'm not there yet. I still have a hard time, presenting and doing stuff like this. And at one point, I said to her, have you actually updated your story? Have you updated your story about yourself? Because you keep saying, I'm not good at presenting. And she was like, she just went totally blank. And she said, I'm holding on to the old story that I'm not good at presenting. And if I confront that story right now, I'm actually good at it. I'm actually enjoying it. I stepped into my leadership. And she was like, I'm leaving the course now. Bye-bye. But it was such a great moment, because it was like pling, and she just got it. I forgot to update my story. And I had another situation, is that okay?
Yeah, this is perfect. I love it.
And it was, some family friends, and this couple, they met when they were very young, and they lived in a small town, and there was a house in this town, and they absolutely loved this house. And when they got together, they agreed whenever this house got on the market, they had to buy it. And they looked out, and they watched, and they waited. And 10 years later, they heard a rumor that the woman who owned the house, she was selling it because she was getting really old. And they went up and knocked on the door and said, we just heard this rumor. Is it true? Do you want to sell your house? And she was like, yeah, it's not on the market. Do you want to buy it? And they went, absolutely. And they just bought the house. They moved in just to realize that they moved into an old dream. Because 10 years later, they had 2 kids, they had a huge dog, and they didn't fit into the house. The house was too small, but they just held on to this illusion of, if we get this house, we will be happy together. This is just the perfect house. So they also had to update their reality to the year that they bought the house, and they ended up selling it because it wasn't any great anymore. So I think it's so important that we update how we look at ourselves, how we've grown as human beings. What is true to me right now? What are my dreams? Because my dreams in 2025 might not be the dreams that I had last year, because things had changed. I have changed. So every single day, maybe every week, every month, ask yourself, is this still true? Is this still true? Is this still true about me, about my dreams, about my visions, about how I have progressed in my personal growth? Is this still true? I think it's such an important question. And then make your show-off list, because that will actually also show you, wow, maybe it's not true anymore. Maybe I'm actually good at this. Maybe I'm not that insecure. Maybe I'm not that scared. And maybe this story is not true anymore. What I keep telling myself, and I create an identity around, I'm not good with strangers. I'm not good in speaking in public places. I'm not great at this and this and this. I'm not good at coming up with new ideas. Maybe it's not true anymore.
Yeah.
So
And
we all do it. Yeah.
That is it's such a good Thank you for those two examples too, because they're really good. I think that one of the things that I talk about when I'm working with clients, like from a healing perspective, is about the story. And so I think sometimes we hold on to stories because it's safe. It
Yeah.
keeps us safe. And that woman, that was keeping her safe. That was keeping her from not stepping into the next version of herself because she was telling herself that she's not good at. And I think that sometimes we hold on to stories because of the fear of what does it mean if I let that go and step into that new version.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that is also why another layer of this could also be: do your own show off list first. Do it yourself first, because it's much easier to ask other people, "What do you think about me?" But
Yeah.
after, but after you do it, ask other people, "What are my strengths? What am I good at? How do you actually see me?" And hold them up against each other and see, "Wow, how other people see me, and how I see myself. Is that the same?" Because hopefully it is. And if it's not, look at it and see, how is there any truth in how other people see you? Or and do you have to update and step into your greatness and your leadership, as you say, Megan? Because I think you're so right. She was so afraid of stepping into this leadership role. What would
Mm.
other people think? Would she be good at it? But the truth was, she was already good at it.
Well, yeah.
She's one of the leaders.
Oh,
She works in public relations and customer service. And, she has about, I think, 25 people in her teams now. She has 6 teams. And she is the one in this great company there. I think there are about 1,500 people. She is the one with the highest scores in satisfaction from her team members. So she is there, and she's amazing, but she forgot to own it. She didn't own her own position and her own greatness. She forgot. She left it outside, she forgot to take
mm,
it in and say, "Wow, this is me. I
yeah.
am good at it." Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I also think too that one of the things that I guess I've worked on over the years, and is I often keep like my really big dreams or things that I've got going on in my head to myself. I share them with my husband, but I think sometimes I listen to people, and I'm not judging, it's an observation, but I listen to people and they're like, "Oh, and I'm going to do this," and they rattle off 100,000 things. And I think sometimes when people are big oversharers in that sense, then if they want to change direction or do something else, I think sometimes they worry, well, I've told everybody now, so I
Mm.
kind of got to commit that. What is everybody going to think if I change? I think that there's a bit of self-judgment and fear around that too. And so it's really interesting when you talk about that show off list, because I think sometimes you can be a show off to yourself. But I think sometimes with some people, maybe just keeping it quietly to yourself and asking a few people that are in the circle is a nice way to do it, as opposed to, as you said, like going out and asking everybody.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And also, I was just getting an image in my head while you were talking, because I also see when you want to create something new, it's like, you put a seed in the ground. And if you tell everybody about that seed, they're like, "Oh, is it growing? Oh, is it growing? How does it, how's it going?" And you'll have this small, tree. It begins to grow, but you'll pull and pull and pull, because it needs to grow really fast, because you told everybody about it. And instead of letting the seed has its own speed, and you have to nourish, you have to put light and water and really take care of it, and it will grow really strong. You'll have this tree that's really thin and fragile, and whenever there's a wind coming towards it, it will trip over and fall. And I think that's also why you have to kind of keep it with yourself and your circle of really close friends and family, because it's very vulnerable in the beginning when you plant a seed for a new idea or a new vision, or you actually trying to move forward with your fear of whatever it is, instead of everybody knowing. Then keep it to a close circle. And also, I think you have a great point. If you want to change direction, it's easier. And the fear shouldn't definitely not hold us back, because fear usually does. But we can be conscious about the fear, and we can be unconscious about the fear.
Yeah.
And if we don't know what is holding me back, it's usually fear.
Mm.
Because if there's no fear, we will move forward.
Yeah.
So there's usually the fear, but it's usually also unconscious. So we believe that it's fine, I can share it with everybody. No, maybe now you have this unconscious fear of failing, or you have to really work over time to succeed, and maybe you spend too much time away from your kids and family just to succeed, because you told everybody you want to write this book, or you want to begin whatever it is, a new job, and you
Yeah.
don't really, when you feel and check in with yourself, that's not the truth. Maybe it was in the moment, it's not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And then you spend so much time, because you've told so many people, explaining why you've changed your track or what you've done, Whereas if it's just your little close family and your inner circle, it's easy to just have a quick conversation. And, I think, Sagar, too, I think it's really interesting that at the end of the day, most of the time, no one really cares about
Yeah.
what you're doing. Do you know? Like your close friends and your inner circle do. But your wider audience, they like, I don't know. I just don't think, and I don't mean that in an insensitive way. But at the end of the day, if I've got a few dreams and I keep them to myself and I change them, no one's going to care. It's
No.
my life and it's what I'm going to do. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that sometimes we get so in our heads about what is everyone going to think, whereas probably half the people had forgotten about all the dreams that you told them anyway. So just go ahead and,
Exactly.
trust yourself and be confident in yourself and just do what's right for you.
Yeah, and also in the end, it doesn't really matter what other people think, because
Nope.
it's your life, it's your happiness, it's your decision. And then I think also with your inner circle, of course they do care, but they care about you being happy. That's what they care about. So
Mhm.
if you fulfill your dream or don't, as long as you're happy, that's what's most important to the people that matters to you. So, and I think if we're honest with ourselves, it's much better. It's much better to let go of a dream if it's not right for you than to hold on to a dream where you lose yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, I'm coaching a leader in a company, and he's been a leader for several years, but he's not happy, and his team is not happy either, because he's always shouting at them, and he's always in a fail mood, and he's very much a control freak. So whatever they're doing, he's in their business all the time. And I just spoke to him the other day because the company asked me to help him, and he's not very good at people skills, to be honest. He's very introvert, and he's very, very good at his professional skills, but people skills he's a disaster.
Right.
And he has to improve on his people skills in order to be a manager for this team. And I said to him, I said, do you really want to do this work? I mean, are you sure improving your people skills, are you sure that will make you happy? Or are you doing it because people expect you to do it and you have to do it to be in this position? Because if you want another position where you only have to care about your professional skills, I think you should go for it. And I think everybody will approve on you for the courage that you show to step out of this role where you're not comfortable and you're not happy, and you are twisting yourself over and over again, talking to me and also trying to do what we agree on, but it's not you. So
Right.
really think about it. Why are you holding on to this work that is not making you happy? And
Mm.
at the moment, I don't know what his decision will be. I'll see him tomorrow, but I'm sure, just that, having another person approve that you can actually change and you can make another choice doesn't make you less a person or less worthy. I think, the improvement that I can also give him, saying, I think you have to make a choice, and whatever your choice is, it has to be the best for you. And then I can respect you. But at the moment, to be honest, I don't respect you because you're not honest to yourself and you're doing damage to yourself and other people. So is that what you want to do? Or do you want to be happy? It's really important that we ask ourselves, but a lot of the times we're making our choices because we think that's what other people want, and we're afraid that other people will think less of us if we change our mind. But being vulnerable is really important because that kind of connects ourselves with our heart and our soul and our visions and truth deep down.
Yeah. And I think it sounds like that his team might be really happy if he decides not to be a leader either, because it doesn't sound like he's being effective for them as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so I might take a break and we'll hear from our sponsors. And then when we come back, we'll just have a quick chat about your book and how people can get access to your book. So we'll just hear from our sponsors and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to the show. I'm joined by Sagar Constantin, and we have been diving deep into many things already. I knew that we would. Sagar, I know that people can purchase your book on Amazon. Is that correct? Yep. Be Your Own Rock. Yes.
Yes.
So I will put the link to being able to purchase the book so the comments will be in below this YouTube and TV stream, and they'll be able to click on the link and to purchase the book. So it's I just love, everything that we've already talked about. I just keep getting that you've got to be your own rock, like everything that we've already spoken about. It is about just stepping into our own power, isn't it? And just being there for ourselves first. I think that's the one thing that I get from our conversations all the time, Sagar, is about we need to make sure that we're okay first, we're in our power, that we are supporting ourselves before we can then step into anything else that we want to do in supporting others.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because if we want to support others, we have to be there for ourselves first. I mean, it's the same when you go flying. If something happens, you have to take care of yourself and your own air first, and you can't support anybody else if you run out of air. And being your own rock really means that you feel grounded, that you feel true to yourself, you are doing the work. It doesn't mean that you've done all the work, but you know how to come back to you and be to yourself and be true to yourself, to stand firm inside yourself so you don't lose yourself, you don't lose direction in life. And you really, then you're there for everybody else, and you can support everybody else. You can begin to show other people the way as well. And,
Mm,
and I think, but if we lose track of ourselves and we're not our own inner rock, um, then all the fear starts growing and all the insecurity, and also you don't know what's happening in the world, what's happening with me, and
mm,
you start to control life instead. But
mm,
controlling life is really an illusion because you can't. But when you come back to yourself and you find this inner peace with your inner rock, then you don't need control anymore, because then you have trust, and trust is much better.
absolutely. And so when we're talking about insecurity within ourselves, so we often seek, or people often seek external validation to feel secure. So how can someone shift from seeking approval externally to truly owning their own worth?
Well, there's several ways we can do that. And I think one of the most important ones is actually getting to know our emotions, because emotions are really this explosive sensation in our body that when there's an emotion, we also start to look at the emotion and put thoughts on top of it, and then we put behavior on top of the emotion. And if the emotion runs off with us and we don't know what this emotion is, it will direct our decisions and our thoughts. So if we turn around and just breathe into the emotion, and emotion is just a bodily sensation that lasts between 7 seconds and at the most a minute,
Mm,
unless we grab hold of it and hold on to it, then it can last for years, the emotion. But if we start to observe what is happening inside of me, instead of looking on the outside for answers all the time, and if we start to actually acknowledge, well, okay, I feel insecure now. Okay, what is it I feel insecure about? What is it that's scary right now? What is it that really gives me this sensation in my body? Instead of shutting it down, or as you say, asking other people, is it okay that I feel insecure now? Shouldn't I in this situation? Please confirm that my emotion is okay. But we have to begin to deal with our own emotion, and becoming friends with them is actually a really good approach. Instead of, we have all these enemies that runs off inside of us, and we don't know what is this about, and we just try to shut it down. And we do shut it down, our emotions, with many different things. We shut down emotions with sugar, actually, with
mm,
so sugar actually closes off the ability to feel your emotion, which is really sad, because a lot of us, when we feel an emotion we are uncomfortable with, we just eat some sugar and then it's gone, but it's not really, because it'll come back. Emotions always come back if you shut them off. But if you turn around and embrace the emotion and breathe into it, you can transform the emotion, and then you're more free, because you don't let your emotion direct your life. You let your emotion
mm,
be inside of you and be a part of you, be a part of the whole, feeling human, but they're not directing your choices and your behavior. And that is really the key to so many um, things in life, that we get to know our emotions, because if we don't, they will direct thoughts and behavior unconsciously. Yeah.
mm. And do you think that uh, your self-love and self-compassion, I think, is the one of the biggest things that we can do for ourselves, I think, when we're feeling insecure? Because
Absolutely.
if we go internally and we give ourselves the love and the compassion,
Yeah.
I think that that work then helps with the emotions that you're feeling, because you don't need to go externally for the validation then, because you're just loving and being really kind to yourself.
Yeah, and there's another trick you can use as well,
Mm,
and that is one I use a lot, actually, because when we jump into this uncertainty, and we connect uncertainty with an emotion, that is a really toxic combination, and thought and insecurity and uncertainty and an emotion. And if you have this uncertainty and insecurity, what you can do is just ask yourself a simple question.
Mm.
And the question is, what do I know to be true right now? And let's say, Megan, I feel alone and I feel isolated and I don't feel like I have any friends and nobody asks me out. And all my friends are going out, but they didn't ask me. So I feel a little bit insecure and all by myself. And if I ask the question, what do I know to be true right now? It could be that my friends are going out. They didn't ask me. Okay, that's fair enough. That's the fact. And then I can take responsibility and say to myself, what can I do about it? I can ask them, can I come? I can also ask them, why didn't you ask me out? I would love to come. But when you ask the question, what do I know to be true right now? It brings you back to the present moment. Whereas emotions and fear is often to do with the past or the future. What happened to me earlier in my life, I draw upon because that's all my memory and experience and what I believe to be true. And then I make up, my future. You probably don't like me. You probably don't want me to come. You never want to see me again. But that's not the truth either.
Yeah.
So right now, what do I know to be true? You didn't ask me to come with you. I wish they were friends. I don't know. I can only find out if I call you, So what can I actually do to take responsibility? If I want more friends, what can I do right now to have more friends? I can reach out. I can join some, whatever club or gathering or whatever it is. I can go to some lectures and whatever it is I want to join other people. But what do I know to be true right now brings us back to the present moment. And there we can take responsibility to do what is best in the situation, solve the situation, but also, is it true that I'm all alone? Is it true that I'm a failure? No, it's not. It's not actually, because I have this friend, I have this friend, I have this friend, I have this friend. Okay, I'm not all alone, or I'm not a failure, or I'm not insecure because yesterday I actually stood up and I did this and this and this, But we tend to go into the past or the future with our focus. And that is what makes us insecure. And that is what makes us want to control life, because then we're not present right now in the moment. And that being present right here is the key to solving so many of our insecurities and also this fear of the unknown and what we cannot predict. Because a lot, when we're talking about changes in our lives, we like to control what is happening. And if I can't predict the future, it stresses out my brain. It's one of the things that actually stresses out the brain the most, is what we cannot predict. So people work really hard to predict what is going to happen. If I do this, what will happen? Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't know. Unless you try it, you don't know. How can we know? We can have an idea, but really, we don't know. So also, if people have running thoughts, and worry a lot, the question, what do I know to be true right now, is amazing, because it brings us back to what do I know. I think, if you have kids, for example, and they get to the age where they begin to go out, a lot of parents lie awake at night. Oh, does anything happen to my kids? They're out on their own, right? They're drinking, and are they doing drugs or whatever? Are they meeting people that are not good for them? What do you know to be true right now? You know that your kids are out. You know that you raised them well. Anything else you don't know. You don't really know. And another take on that matter, which I also love, is when you have a conversation with other people. A lot of the times we have a conversation where we believe, and you can ask people, is this something you believe, or is this something you know? So do I believe the future will be amazing? Do I believe the future will be absolutely a disaster? If we want to sit here and have a conversation about what we believe, we can both put in our beliefs. But if we want to have a conversation about what we know, then that's what we should stick to. And I think it's good to actually agree. What do we want? Because a lot of the times one person is in the believing room and the other person is in the other room. And then we begin to have a fight, and I don't mind sitting here guessing about the future as long as we agree that that is what we're doing. And your guess is absolutely as good as my guess is. Begin to talk about what do we know to be true right now, then we have to stick to the fact. We have to stick to what we know. And I think that is a good place to go because it's much easier to navigate with the truth and with what is present right now. If it's an emotion, if it's a belief, well, let's talk about what do you believe? What do you know to be true in that belief,
Yeah.
And it's much easier to relate to as well because we're on the same level. I know this to be true. Okay, fair enough. I can relate to that. But all the guessing and toxic, energy and worrying, it's really hard to connect to because we don't know. We don't know if your worries will be true one day or not.
Yeah.
We don't
And,
know.
when you were just saying that, I had a bit of an aha moment because I thought if you're in that present moment, bringing yourself back to being present, you're actually not sitting then in a story that is past or a new story that you're creating in the present, in the future. You're actually, you being present in that moment is dissolving any story that you're trying to hold on to as well.
Yes,
Mm.
it is. And it's the best place to be. It's magical because also what I find, and some people get really amazed when I say this and ask, do you want to go there? If you keep exercising and asking your brain to be present in the moment, what happens is that the brain will actually let go of spinning all the time because it spins with thoughts and emotions all the time. It activates the emotions and it's just spinning all these thoughts and you have this like blah, 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 blah happening in your brain. And you can actually, the more you practice to say, what do I know to be true right now? The more silent your brain will become. And it will only have thoughts when you ask it for a thought or an opinion. The rest of the time, your brain will be silent. There will be no chatting inside your brain. So exercising this area of your brain where it just chats and it talks and it comes up with things all the time, you can actually minimize that. You can close it all down. So your brain is completely silent in the present moment. And only when you ask it to have a take on a matter, it will actually begin to talk to you.
Wow.
Which is completely amazing because then you have this space and silence in your head all the time, which is beautiful. You don't have to have this chatterbox running off and talking to you all the time. But this is an exercise you have to do and you have to keep practicing. And some people, they really have to say stop, stop, stop to their brain over and over again when it's like, no, no. No, shut up.
Wow, I did not know that. I'll have to start training my brain in that sense, definitely.
Yeah, because what we do on the other hand, we train our brain to talk all the time. So we just have to do the opposite.
Do the opposite, yeah.
It's just the way we wire our brain. So you can wire it differently, which is amazing with the brain. We can wire it differently.
Yeah.
Instead of having it in a chatterbox, you will have silence. And it's an amazing place to be, where it's just silence most of the time.
Because you get real clarity then of when you're actually asking for an opinion, that your brain would be very clear on how it's answering then as well. So I think you'd get real clarity.
And you get time and also the ability to observe your emotions. So you don't fuel the emotions up with your thoughts and beliefs. So your emotion will be more easy to transform and also sit with because they don't explode because you put your beliefs in it and your history and present experience, Exactly. And then they just last for so long. So when you have this silent brain, you can just watch the emotion rise and fall, and then you move on.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Wow, thank you for that. That's really great. So life throws us curveballs all the time, whether in relationships, in our career, or personal setbacks. So what are the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to stay strong? And what should they do instead? What advice can you impart on the audience about that?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is to worry too much, really. And when when we are under pressure, when we're challenged, what we usually do is we go into survival mode. And that's the
Mhm.
worst place we can go unless, of course, there's a fire or something really scary is
Mhm.
happening. Then we should try to survive. But when there's a change, we go into survival mode. And what most people do is suddenly they don't eat healthy. They forget to sleep. They forget to exercise. And all the things that we know that are good for us, we let go of that because now we're in survival mode. And then we eat all the bad stuff. We have poor sleep. We forget to exercise. We forget to go out and get some fresh air. Or we forget to share how we feel with other people. We forget, we isolate instead of connecting. And so it's really important that we watch our survival strategies so we don't fall into this trap of surviving. We take a deep breath. We observe ourselves. Wow, I'm challenged now. I'll ask myself, what is the best thing to do? Well, that might be to connect with another person, to reach out. That might be to go for a walk instead of reacting and making a decision I will regret. That
Mm.
might be to get a healthy meal and go to bed early so I can sleep. And then you might ask me, but what if all these thoughts, are happening in my head? Then we go back to what I said before. What do I know to be true right now? And then you focus. You can make a sentence in your head that you keep saying that will make you safe. So when you can't sleep at night, you keep repeating, I know I have, for example, this ability, and I know this to be true, this to be true, and this to be true. And then your brain go, well, maybe, no, 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 no. I know this to be true, this to be true, and this to be true. So you stick to what you know, and you have a sentence you can keep repeating that bring you back to the present moment and the truth. So I think, one of the biggest mistakes we make is actually letting go of ourselves. You know,
Mm.
that is then we're really lost for sure if we let go of what we know is good for us, and all the things that come on. I mean, making people know what is good for them. We know it. We heard it so many times before. We know what we should do, really, but we forget when we're under pressure. So it's good to have something that can remind you to come back and do what is good for you. Get your good sleep, get some fresh air, get some exercise, eat healthy. And one thing is also when we're under pressure, these things has to be easy and attractive. And
Mm.
if it's not easy to eat healthy, we'll get the McDonald's or the Burger King or whatever. And if it's not easy to reach out to a friend, then we will isolate. If it's not easy to go and exercise, I will stay on the couch. So
Yeah.
we really have to remember to make it easy to do the good things and hard to do the bad things, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I really love that you said the word "is it attractive" as well, because I use that with my clients when I'm coaching, because it's really important that, okay, you've got to exercise, and someone goes, well, everyone tells me I've got to go to the gym, so I've got to go to the gym. But is that attractive to you? No, I hate it. Well, don't go to the gym. What do you like doing? I like
Yeah.
walking. We'll go
Yeah.
walking. I think that there's that thing that attractive is really important when we're looking at those survival pieces of, if I'm starting to feel disconnected to myself, what can I do? And even if it's just one of those things, Saga, even if in that
Exactly.
day you've walked out the front door to the letterbox and you've come back, well, you know
Yeah.
what? Celebrate it. Well done to
Yeah.
you. Because I think sometimes when people are spiraling and feeling disconnected, they feel like, oh, well, I haven't meditated for an hour and I haven't exercised and I haven't done this and that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted just listening to you. I don't
Yeah.
do that. Like, meditate for 5 minutes. If that's all you can do in the day, well done. So I think it's also just bringing it back to what, that attractive really helps to be able to put those things in place.
I couldn't agree more. And this is the key to succeeding with anything, really. This is the key. This is so important because, I had the other day, there was a guy, he came up to me and said, I'm so fed up exercising. And every time I go to the gym, I have this program that I have to go through. And he said, the only thing that happens is with this program and this ambition is I'm not going because it takes too long and I don't want to go through the whole program. It's not easy. It's not attractive. So what he actually did, he said to himself, all I have to do is go to the gym. What I do there doesn't matter. If I just go to the gym, say hello, hello, and I go home, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And he said, when I gave myself that freedom, I actually feel like going to the gym because I don't have this workload sitting on top of my shoulders, all these exercises I should do. And he said, the amazing thing is when I'm there, I'm doing the program because I'm there anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it. But I also think, and I do this a lot in my life, is there something I want to do? I always ask myself, is it easy? Is it attractive? Because our emotions direct our choices. So if it's not attractive, I mean, you can do it by force and willpower, but we only have a limit of a certain amount of willpower during the day.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're out of willpower. So
Yeah.
you can't run your life on willpower. You have to run it on positive emotions because that is what will bring you to wherever you want to go. Whenever there's a positive emotion, you will go. And me, for example, I like exercising, and for years I haven't been running. And I thought, well, I would actually like to go running, but when I break it down, I don't want to go running when it's dark outside and when it's raining, and that's half of the year here in Denmark. So I thought, well, that's just an ambition that's never going to happen. So I thought, well, if I want to go running, what should I do? And I bought a treadmill, and it's just in the next room, the room next to me. But still having a treadmill at home is not that attractive. So I have to put yet another level on top of this, because what I find attractive is watching series that I like. So I have agreed with myself, I can only watch my favorite series when I'm running on my treadmill.
Right.
So now it's attractive to go and watch the next episode. And I'm watching this episode, and before I know it, I have run 5 kilometers.
Right.
So now it's both easy because it's sitting in my house, and it's attractive because I am enjoying myself watching my favorite show on television as I run. And
I love that.
It's great. Yeah, that's how I do it.
That's great. So we literally only have like less than 2 minutes left. So Sagar, I'm just going to thank you so much for your insights and the tools that you've shared with us again today. And I'm not surprised that we could sit here and talk for more and more hours. So I'll definitely have to get you back again. I'm truly grateful for all of the wisdom that you've also shared on the show. And I always feel like I've learned something about myself after speaking with you. So thank you very much for that. And I'll just ask you the last question just very quickly of, can you share with the audience what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is a mantra I live by. Easy is right. When it's easy, it's usually right as well.
That's perfect. And that just sums up everything that we've just spoken about now. So thank you, Sagar, so much. And I also just want to thank all of our amazing and dedicated audience, our sponsors and our supporters. And I hope that you all have an amazing weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. And thank you again, Sagar.
Thank you.